Tonight on Countdown to Green, we look back at the action from Iowa. Segment 2 gets set to conclude at the Brickyard. And the crew chats with William Byron Esports driver Tucker Minter. All of that and more coming up on Countdown to Green.
Hello everybody and welcome to the virtual Brickyard and one of the most famous racetracks on earth, Indianapolis Motor Speedway. We're racing tonight in round 6 of the eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing Championship Series. This is your Countdown to Green presented by Logitech. And what a night we have ahead for you. One of the most famous places on earth and some of the best racing in all of the sim world. I'm Alan Cavana, happy to be here tonight and happy to be joined by two of the best in the business. The man on the mic, James Pike, and the man behind the wheel, Ryan Vargas. James, let's start with you. This is a special place and a challenging place for everybody.
It is a test of champions more than anything else. We see it so much in the Real Life Cup Series that drivers who have a good track record at Indianapolis usually end up becoming factors when we start looking at the series title at the end of the year. The Coke Series usually plays out the same way. So if you can put a good run up here, I think it bodes well towards your efforts trying to make it to the NASCAR Hall of Fame in October.
Ryan, it looks simple. 2 straightaways and flat corners. Not so.
Absolutely not so. This track is a tale of two stories, right? I can see this race being completely green to the end, and we seeing fuel and tire strategy come into play, or it could turn into a little bit of Daytona and Talladega, where lots of crashes happen. That has been a storyline here in the past. So, and you could flip a coin, and I wouldn't be surprised at either option.
Yeah, 2.5 miles per lap tonight. Last week, let's go back and look at that because we were short track racing in Iowa, guys. Ryan, I'll start with you. We started with the heats. It looked like it was going to be a track position all night, but it was good battling throughout.
Absolutely, and the chaos got started early right there as Novak, he has a bad start, really spins the tires or something, causes a huge checkup, causes a big wreck, and we see right here, it really spreads the field out, and that's where we saw a lot of just settling in, a lot of drivers just trying to, manage their time, manage their stuff, but Seb Marin gets his first heat win right there, and then we go to heat number 2. A lot more calm start here, James, but nonetheless, the same 4-wide short track action.
The same 4-wide short track action, and I think a theme that we saw really come to the fore in the heats, and it just stayed true all night. That outside lane, especially on restarts, was so powerful and so I guess sort of worked in. A few bumps and banks between the field there, but the outside lane really was the place to be for most of this great avoidance there, and a fantastic pair of heat races.
Absolutely. Garrett Lowe getting the win in heat number 2, and now we go to the feature race where there was a little bit less chaos, a little bit of fender banging here and there, but nonetheless, the story of this race was tires. Lots of guys really trying to stretch it, trying to make it to the end, trying to play varying strategy here. Steven Wilson seemed to be the guy to beat early, but right there you see Zach Novak has a flat tire. A lot of guys reported flat tires in this race right there. Garrett Lowe makes the move to pass Steven Wilson right there, and just as this race progressed, as the tires degraded, we saw so many drivers who decided to stretch it. It just didn't seem to work out right there. You see, once again, Bobby Z, another one of those drivers, Donovan Strauss, oh man, just lots of fender banging there, but it came down to Garrett Lowe getting his first win on the season there.
Yeah, big win. Good racing. Had to beat Steven Wilson to do it. And that leads us, though, to the segment 2 standings, guys. I mean, Steven Wilson's still on top, but Garrett Lowe getting that victory, it closed it right up, James.
I was about to say, you can see what a win does for you. Garrett Lowe immediately vaults up the leaderboard of the Segment 2 standings. He enters tonight just 2 points behind Steven Wilson. So it is effectively a heads-up race for the lead in this segment at a place like Indianapolis, which I think is going to be a subplot we'll want to watch over the course of this evening. As for the team championship standings, no surprise to see Spire Motorsports in front, but Gannon Esports been steadily consistent, and BS Plus competition again off the back of the win from Garrett Lowe. Now up to 3rd in the team championship standings. So a big night for Garrett, for BS Plus in Iowa.
Yeah, good stuff there. And we saw who's sitting there in 5th in the team standings. It's William Byron Esports. They are made up of a veteran and young driver of Tucker Minter and Christopher Money Hill. Minter seems like he has a lot to prove, sitting 14th there in the Segment 2 standings. Got some work to do to get back to that Championship 4. Here's more on Tucker.
It's been a bit of a hectic off season, I guess. Nothing crazy other than I moved back from North Carolina back up to my home in Warrenton, Virginia. So that's been the biggest thing. Other than that, I've just been doing some driver coaching with VRS and then also helping out my teammates in the qualifying series. It's really cool to race the NASCAR Hall of Fame, and it's not super different when you get into the race. You know, we get so locked in on what we're doing with our driving, and especially when you have your triple monitors, we have them in front of you and to the side. It really blocks out the crowd and your peripheral vision, but the whole lead up is completely different. You get used to doing things where you're going to practice this at a certain time or you're going to do that. When you're at the NASCAR Hall of Fame, there's people coming in, there's things that you're doing, you know, before the lead up to the race, before the lead up to qualifying. That really messes up your rhythm and makes it a challenge, but you know, you have to adapt to it. That's what it's all about. And so I definitely wouldn't trade that experience for the world, and I would love to be back next year, and that's what I plan on doing. Man, I mean, I really just love racing. If I'm not doing sim racing, I'm probably at the racetrack, driving somewhere to watch a dirt race or a NASCAR race on any given weekend, or I'm going to be tuned in watching all 3 of the NASCAR National Series. I'll be tuned in on Flow Sports, tuned in on Dirt Vision, just anywhere where I can find racing, you're going to find me watching it. I just love it. That's how I pass my time. I'd love to drive something at some point, like a Legends car or a late model, something that, local short track like Dominion Raceway is close by to me. I just love to have that opportunity to race in real life. I enjoy if I go rental car racing with my friends or something like that. I like to think I'm pretty decent at it, and so I'd love the opportunity to drive something, but I really get that competitive fix by being on iRacing. If I could add one track to the eNASCAR Championship Series, I probably would add Bathurst as our road course. I just think it'd be super cool to race there. It would probably be frustrating, get caught up in a wreck or something, but I think our Cup cars running down the mountain at Bathurst would be something really fun to drive for me, and I think we'd put on a pretty good show. What it takes to compete at the high level, being great versus good and really making it to the Coke Series, in my opinion, the biggest thing is racecraft. So a lot of guys can drive fast. Nobody's making it to the top few splits of the qualifying series without being able to go fast. But the guys that are able to execute in qualifying and execute in the race, not put themselves in bad situations all the time where they find themselves either in accidents frequently, causing accidents, and finding yourself behind the 8 ball. You just can't put yourself behind when you're racing against so many good competitors.
And one of the best out there, and you saw who he races for, William Byron Esports. And starting tonight, the William Byron Esports Bracket Challenge. You still have time to join before we go green at 8 p.m. But all of us here on Countdown to Green and on the big show decided to fill out a bracket, and we'll make sure, let's see who we're picking, guys. Kenneth Wayno's joining the show now. We're going to start with you because you've got Evan's pick and yours, but let's start with Evan. You're filling in for him tonight. Who does Evan think can go far in this bracket?
Well, hey guys, it's great to see you guys again. And yeah, Evan Pasocco is not here tonight. He'll be at Nashville Super Speedway when we do that broadcast, but I'm his delegated spokesperson for tonight. So Evan Pasocco decided that Tucker Minter, the William Byron Esports Chevrolet, will take the William Byron Esports Bracket Challenge presented by Logitech G. Kind of fitting, William Byron Esports, the William Byron Esports driver, Alan. Good choice for him.
Yeah, not bad at all. Now you're up too. I mean, we're all competing against each other, so you got to go up against your boy Evan.
Well, look, I'm not the best at making picks in its entirety, especially when it comes to a bracket challenge, but I have to take the safe bet. And for me, the safest bet is Steven Wilson. Pair of wins this season. He has not finished a race worse than third this year, so I don't see that changing anytime soon, giving Steven Wilson to take the bracket challenge. And also look for Donovan Strauss and Michael Cozy Jr. as a great matchup to watch up for. I think Cozy might take that one over Strauss.
Yeah, big matchups tonight. We'll talk about them. Let's move on and go to our friend Ryan Vargas there. And Ryan, who are you taking to win it all and maybe an upset tonight?
Man, I had a lot of people that kind of were underdogs, right? I had Urashak, I had Warman, guys that kind of made their way through my bracket, but at the end of the day, I have Vicente Salas taking it all in the William Byron Bracket Challenge. This is one of the guys that I really kind of am looking at tonight, truthfully. I'm looking at Seth the Merchant. I'm looking at that bottom right corner. Bobby Z versus Seth the Merchant. Seth has been really good here in the past. I expect him to go head-to-head with Bobby Z and come out on top.
I'll throw to James. James, I'm sorry I went out of order. I saw your pick there. It was kind of revealed. Surprising nonetheless, though. You're going against some of the bigger names out there. Who are you taking in the Bracket Challenge?
I do have Tucker Minter. I see it the same way that Evan does. However, I do think there's a fair case to be made for at least a handful of drivers in this bracket. You could argue Yarashak. You could argue Wilson. You could argue Chente. I'll buy those arguments. I just think that the chips are going to fall in Tucker Minter's lap at the end of the day. Now, if you want a matchup to watch tonight that I think is particularly interesting, the 14-19 matchup. Those are our seeds coming into tonight. Femi Olan and Daniel Falkingham. Falkingham, a little bit more mercurial, I think, but he's got one win to his credit in the Coke Series, and it came right here at Indianapolis 2 years ago. So if you want to upset, that might be the one to watch. Keep an eye on Thunder Dan.
It's a bracket challenge. I love a good upset. But let's start with my winner. Look, I just filled it out bracket by bracket, matchup by matchup. And in the end, I couldn't find anybody that was going to beat Steven Wilson, no matter the track, no matter the matchup. It was him versus everybody each time I did it. So Steven Wilson, I know, not the biggest, craziest pick, but he's going to go out there and win it. As for an upset, you got to pick some upsets in a bracket challenge, guys. And James, I did one better than you. I went with the 24 seed of Quentin Warman. I think he beats the 9 seed of Dylan Duval tonight. I like the talent. I like what we saw in the qualifying series from Warman, what we saw last year. So I think Quentin Warman gets the upset tonight. 24-9, guys. So we'll see. But that's the fun of a bracket challenge. And again, you can still fill out your bracket tonight before the 8 p.m. green flag. Ryan, let's get to it. Track analysis of the Brickyard.
G track analysis takes us to the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. This track is 2.5 miles long. And we're going to talk about sections here. The straightaways here, 5/8 of a mile. The turns are about a 1/4 mile long, and the short chutes are only 1/8 of a mile. So not a lot of time between those corners to get your bearings adjusted. The banking in this corner is only 9 degrees, which doesn't sound like a lot, but when you're in the car, you definitely can lean on it. This place opened in 1909, August of 1909 to be exact, and the previous winner here was the man we always talk about. Steven Wilson came out on top. I look for him to be another guy that's going to be towards the front, but there's a lot of those guys we're looking at in our bracket challenge that I think could challenge him.
James, we know you need speed here, but strategy can make a big deal. Undercut, overcut. What do you make of a strategy race tonight here? Final thought.
Don't overthink it, especially if this race goes green all the way. Not likely, I think, that we see that back-to-back, but if you got a green race, you want to make that pit stop right in the middle to try and give yourself the best chance at winning $3,000 at the end of this segment.
Ryan, all this speed, I think track position, it might be a fight to keep it, not only get it.
It's going to be a fight to keep it, but look, if you're ahead of all the mess that's going to happen, because look, I just have this feeling this seemed like a wreck-heavy night tonight. If you're one of those guys up front, I have a good feeling you're going to be able to stay up there. Just make sure you keep the fenders on it.
Yeah, it's the Brickyard. The best of the best seem to rise to the top at a track like this. It should be fun. It should be strategic. We should see a lot of speed and some good action on the most famous racetrack there is. We're going green from Indianapolis Motor Speedway right after this.
Every journey toward racing excellence begins the same way, with preparation. Practice is about consistency, the same attention to detail. Today, the gap between the garage and the living room has never been smaller. Because mastery isn't about where you start, it's about where you train. Whether you're chasing trophies or lap times, the road to racing excellence starts with the same tools. Feel the road, own the race. Logitech G wheels and pedals, available now on Amazon.
took the lead and never looked back. Caution-free, short track win in Iowa for Garrett Lowe.
Every single moment, caught up in the motion, got no use for caution. Hope you're ready for a fight. I believe it, I can see it. If it's in my sights, I achieve it. Ain't no leaving, no defeat it. Show up, complete and repeat it. I believe it, I can see it. If it's in my sights, I achieve it. Ain't no leaving, no defeat it. Show up, complete and repeat it. Every day, prove that game. I always go 100%. Start to end. Every day, prove that game. I always go 100%. Start to end.
With just 4 races to go before the regular season comes to a close, the journey to race for the title at the NASCAR Hall of Fame winds through the 2.5-mile cathedral at the Brickyard, where tonight iRacing welcomes you to coverage of race number 6 in the 2026 eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing Championship Series from the virtual Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Glad that you're here to join us on a Tuesday night where we are ready to bring in some action from the racing capital of the world. We're alongside Alan Cavana and Ryan Vargas. I am Kenneth Bueno. We're missing Evan Pizzoco tonight. He'll be back with us next week at the Nashville Super Speedway. Alan, segment 2 comes to a close tonight. $3,000 and 5 playoff bonus points available to the driver who takes it all. 10 points between the top 3 in the standings there. It is time for go time for the drivers here at this famed racetrack.
Oh, it is go time because it's such a short regular season. And look, in the real world, in the NASCAR version of the Brickyard, there has rarely been an upset winner at the Brickyard because the best teams and the best drivers win at this racetrack. I'm expecting the same thing tonight, the cream rising to the top.
And Ryan, like Alan mentioned, only a few races to go until this regular season ends. It's been a blur so far in 2026. We just had our 3rd different winner of the season, Garrett Lowe, take a dub at Iowa Speedway a week ago. What changes for the drivers to keep that different streak going here tonight?
Man, I mean, look, at the end of the day, it's playing your cards right? You're going to have to manage the pit strategy. You're going to have to watch out for your fellow competitors. We talked about it in Countdown to Green. This track has proven to be pretty treacherous in the past. So if you're able to keep yourself toward the pointy end of the field and make sure that you are there at the checkered flag, more than likely you might see yourselves a new winner here. So I'm looking out to see somebody new match their name into the win column.
We saw 2 different stories in our 2 races in the next-gen car here at Indianapolis. Daniel Falkingham surprising all in 2024, and Steven Wilson going back to victory lane in 2025. But Alan, we're back. Indianapolis Motor Speedway, a track that has resurfaced on the eNASCAR Championship Series schedule. It's back in action this time to close a very critical segment 2.
Yes, we're closing with Indianapolis, the 3rd very different type of track, right? We started with Dover, Iowa, now Indianapolis, and that's before we get to the short tracks in segment 3. We've got Richmond there, Nashville a little over a mile, and then Daytona, and then that's it. Then the playoffs start with Michigan, Texas, Kansas, of course. All of this culminating with the finale, Homestead, Miami, where the champion will be crowned. But there's so much on the line tonight to close out segment 2 strong. And it's such a close race, guys, to get that bonus money, to get those bonus points to really affect your playoff run.
And as the drivers get ready tonight from the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, a lot of real-world drivers feel the nerves. Sure, there might be some nerves among these few. All the drivers will give you the looks over the course of the night, whether they're stressed, whether they're calm, and all the highs and lows of the emotions of racing in eNASCAR alongside this racetrack, what it means to win at the Brickyard. We'll see how the drivers react to this one tonight. Well, let's take you trackside and give you tonight's starting grid for race number 6 of the 2026 eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing Championship Series season, where it is career pole number 3 for the Williams F1 Team Gaming machine of Parker White. Lines it up on the front row with the William Byron Esports number 25 of Christopher Hill on the outside to the green flag. FGR eRacing has Ryan Luza on the inside of row number 2 from 3rd, with the ERA Esports member Bobby Zelensky. The 22 car rolls this one out from 4th, the 2-time winner this season. Junior Motorsports' Zach Novak starts this one inside the top 5 on a beautiful new Chevrolet paint scheme. And the other end of the FGR eRacing team, the 14 of Seth the Merchant, starts this one from 6th place. Spire Motorsports' Steven Wilson, the defending winner here from Indianapolis, is 7th to start, with the Kansas City Pioneers number 24 of Casey Curran Allen in the top 8.
Yeah, and starting 9th, Jordy Lopez, and joining him on row 5 will be Dylan Duval. In 11th, Vicente Salas will start next to Cody Bias. One row behind them, in 13th, will be Michael Cozy Jr., starting next to Colin Keister. Then 15th, we have Blake Reynolds starting next to the rookie, Dylan Basin, for Roush Fenway Keselowski Motorsports.
Rolling off in the 17th position, last week's winner Garrett Lowe for BS Plus competition. To his outside, Quentin Warman. To the inside of row number 10, it is Tucker Minter, and to his outside in 20th is Daniel Falkingham. Malik Ray in the number 88 for Junior Motorsports will roll off in 21st. Connor Urashak in 22nd. Blaze Crawford will roll off in the 23rd position, and Donovan Strauss for Williams F1 Team Gaming in 24th.
Then you look back at row 13, Kansas City Pioneers' Wyatt Tinsley in the 20 is 25th, with the TC Esports number 35 of Matthew Morton in 26th place. Row 14, you'll find a pair of rookies. Team Dillon Esports' Kenny Brady in 27th. Sean Conklin, the RFK Racing number 17, is in 28th. Kanan Esports' Seth Barron in the 66 is 29th, and Dylan Alt for Hayek Motorsports rounds out tonight's top 30. Logan Helton for E-Racer in 31st, and the other TC Esports Toyota Camry of Jake Nichols in 32nd spot. And rounding on our field in 33rd is the E-Racer 69 of Seth Knoll. All the other drivers did not take a time in qualifying. They go all the way down the order, but Parker White on the pole for the first time in a little while. Driver still looking for his first win of the 2026 calendar season. And Alan, this is definitely where the anticipation is high, probably the anxiety at the same moment for the drivers as they start to roll off on the grid.
Certainly. I mean, you could see the yard of bricks there. Yes, we're racing the sim world, but it's still Indianapolis Motor Speedway. There's still so much on the line to get the victory tonight. Kiss the virtual bricks. I can tell you, Kenneth, if I won this race, I would kiss virtual bricks. I promise you. It is a huge deal to win at Indianapolis Motor Speedway. But again, with the way the regular season is, how short it is, how important each race now has become, especially with the segments, you got to get the job done now. There are no mulligans.
All right, well, Parker White lines it up on pole from the Brickyard, and Alan, you've got the front row starting car in the 95.
Yeah, well, that he knows he must be fast for one lap. Parker White joining us now. Parker, great to have you on here. One lap at the Brickyard's one thing. 60 plus with all the strategy, trying to keep the track position is another. What's the challenge at a track like this?
Yeah, track position is extremely important here. This is probably the worst track we go for dirty air. So there's no better place to start this race from the pole. This is probably one of the most important races, if not the most important, to get the pole. So I wasn't really that confident going into qualifying. We were about 2/10 off in the practice, but I just had a ton of grip on my lap and made no mistakes. So really good execution there in the qualifying. So race is a whole different thing, like you said. We got 60 laps here. Let's have to see how it plays out strategy-wise. This is probably the most unique race we have of the year for strategy, so let's have to see how it goes.
What kind of scenarios have you played through? How much work goes into the strategy aspect of it, not just making laps for practice, but the strategy aspect of when, where, and how to make that pit stop?
Yeah, a lot of it for me personally is just reacting to everybody else around me. So with me being in the lead, it kind of gives me a little bit more flexibility that way, because like when I'm mid-pack, I kind of have to react immediately. So I'll definitely have to do what's best for me to try to keep the lead during the pit cycle. But yeah, there's a whole bunch of other factors that go into like tires, how much we fall off here, and like how much we have to take, because the last two races here have gone into fuel mileage. So that's kind of what I have in the back of my head for this race, is if we're going to have three green light checkers at the end. So let's have to see how it plays out.
All right, Parker White flexing the championship trophy in the background, guys. We know he can get it done. But look, sitting there 13th in points. Take nothing for granted. Need a good run tonight.
driver that's been on the back and forth over the course of this season. Ryan Vargas, you're the man behind the wheel for a reason. You've taken a race car around many different racetracks. Indianapolis, such a famed venue. What do we have on tap for tonight's Coca-Cola race analysis?
Absolutely. Our Coca-Cola race analysis brings us to Indianapolis Motor Speedway. This race is 60 laps long. That doesn't sound like a lot, but that is still 150 miles around this rectangular racetrack. Pit road speed is 55 miles per hour. These teams have 3 sets of tires available to them. The pit window is about 38 to 42 laps, so with the race being 60 laps distance, you are guaranteed at least one pit stop. But when you get later in the race, especially on late restarts, some of those tire sets that are laying there are going to be really important there, Kenneth.
And already the drivers, like Parker White, talking about how important track position is. It's always about how lap number 1 goes before you decide what the fate is for the rest of the race. Parker finished 7th here in the 2025 edition of this Indianapolis race with Christopher Hill on the outside. Such a strong start at Charlotte for the Coca-Cola 160, but ever since, the driver for the team that's owned by Cup Series driver William Byron has struggled a little bit, although finished 5th here back in 2025 on what was a momentous back half of the regular season run for the rookie at the time, the sophomore, trying to make an impression in row number 1 with 2 very experienced drivers right behind them. Ryan Luza, Bobby Zelensky, either to give the push or to make a move as they come to turn 1 for the first time. iRacing official pace car makes the dart left to the entry of pit road. It'll be the 14th all-time visit to this Indianapolis Motor Speedway in series history. Parker White, Christopher Hill take the field to the yard of bricks. We're racing at Indianapolis for the first time in 2026. And a quick getaway for Ryan Luza, breaks free to 3rd, but it's door-to-door for the lead as they run up off turn 2 for the first time. Parker White trying to close the door on Christopher Hill, snake trailing down the back straightaway for the first time tonight. 3 wide behind the main group, but it's Hill pointing the nose in front to turn 3.
Yeah, Parker could not get clear out. He gets clear there. He had a big wiggle out of turn number 2 there. I saw him get loose on the inside there, but thankfully was able to drive hard through turn number 3, and now is going to try and set sail. He talked a lot about that dirty air. Use that clean air to your advantage and try and scoot away as the field continues to fight behind him.
These are stock cars. This looks like the Indy 500, the way they are snaking all the way down the front and back stretch. If you're going to make a pass, this is the easiest time to do it off one of these restarts. So I understand the aggression. I just didn't expect as much of it as we did. As they single file out now, you can see it's going to be tough. Ryan Luza able to maintain that second position. More importantly for Parker White, he was able to get that restart and now has that little bit of a gap while everybody else can fight it out behind him, Kenneth.
Almost looked a bit like the Iowa race in the first few laps of drivers going 3 and 4 wide, them doing anything in their physical power to try and make some moves on the racetrack. Everybody's saying in the social media on the hours leading up to this race that qualifying was going to be such a huge deal. And for Ryan Luza, former champion of this series, has already slithered his way up into the second place position ahead of Christopher Hill. Zach Novak also making up one on the opening jump on Bobby Zelensky, the Ledford Billiard Supply the number 8 Chevrolet, the team owned by Dale Earnhardt Jr., going to work his way into the top 5 for the first time tonight, and Parker White pulling away. But Ryan, as a driver, you look at Indianapolis and you don't see multiple lanes. That was something at Iowa that opened up over the later portions of the run. But what do you expect to see if we do get a long green flag run? Will that second line kick in, or is it just stick to the bottom the entire time?
I mean, right now, it's definitely going to be a bottom feeders game. I mean, you saw right there, everybody was clamoring to get to the bottom right there. And one driver who was a big loser in that, Steven Wilson, Spire Motorsports number 77 car, he dropped 6 positions at the start there already. And that's product of that racing, of that jostling for position. And when everybody's fighting for the bottom like that, it is so important to keep the left front of your nose out on that race car, because you're just going to get that little bit of air to help plant that nose and get that much needed downforce.
Yeah, the battle for first, not too much right now, but you can see on the bottom of your screen the battle for 16th, the back half of this field. Still plenty of 2-wide racing back there as they're trying to get as much as they can, as early as they can, because it seems like that inside groove is the place to be. But coming off that corner, if you can't make the clear pass, you are stuck down there killing some of your momentum. We're seeing those stake movements back there, guys. It is getting dicey way back in the field. Big blocks, but it seems like necessary blocks at this point in the race, Kevin.
Oh, a huge block by the 33, Kenny Brady, taking it to the inside. And as we watch this battle in the middle of the pack, we watch on board with the William Byron Esports number 97 of Tucker Minter. Saw his piece earlier on tonight in Countdown to Green. But while we were watching these battles, Ryan, I can't help but think about our predictions in the William Byron Esports Bracket Challenge. Again, it's a head-to-head combat each and every week, going all the way down to the regular season finale. At Daytona, there are no second chances in this bracket. You're either ahead and you move on, or you're behind and you lose out. Tucker against one of the fellow drivers in the series of Thomas Lloyd, but a few others just around him that are either in front or just slightly behind their competition.
Yeah, I'm looking at the scoring pylon right there, and one of my underdog picks, Seth the Merchant, who actually is going head-to-head with Bobby Zielinski. They're 5th and 6th right now. They find each other on the track right now, racing for position. I actually have Seth the Merchant eking out Bobby Z at the end of this race, so I'm going to be keeping my eyes on that one. That one's my pairing to watch. Alan, how's some of your interesting pairings looking out right now? Which one are you looking at?
I picked the upset of Quentin Warman over Dylan Duvall. Right now, I'm on the losing end of that. Still plenty of time, but I like the focus on Tucker Minter because a lot of the brainiacs on our show here picked Tucker Minter to not only advance tonight, but win the whole thing. So I think they're trying to get some points, and Tucker Minter stuck on the inside right there. But he's got some work to do if he's going to stay in championship bracket winning contention there. But he's got the good vibes on his side. He's racing for William Byron. William Byron races the 24 car, who's been pretty good in the 24. The 24 car has been pretty good historically at the Brickyard, Kenneth. So maybe there's some good vibes here going for Tucker Minter. He's got some work to do, though.
Minter qualified 19th, and he's up now to the 18th running spot as he tries to work on the bright pink Chevrolet of Daniel Falkingham, former winner here at Indianapolis, and then the defending winner from Iowa Speedway just last Tuesday, Garrett Lowe for BS Plus competition. I mean, what a night it was, not only for Garrett, Ryan, but for that entire BS Plus competition team. And we've mentioned multiple times how short of a regular season this is. And I was just about to bring up the point that BS Plus competition is gaining momentum. I think they're trying to gain some momentum on a different strategy here. That was radio silence.
Absolutely. Nothing about what Garrett Lowe is doing surprises me here. Garrett Lowe is one of the smartest, most methodical racers in the eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing Championship Series. And you see it right here. Listen, as he goes in turn number 3, listen. He clutches it. He's coasting. Letting it roll to the center. Then back to it. Wow. And what I'm also looking at, he's not really downshifting either. He's keeping that thing in high gear, trying to make sure that he is in the prime spot, basically trying to get the draft off those cars ahead of him right there, right? He's drafting with Quentin Warman right there, just keeping his car tucked in down the straightaways, poking his nose out in the corner, as I talked about earlier, making sure that he keeps all the fuel in the fuel tank of that BS Plus competition Chevy.
And that's what's just so interesting and important to remember and note is that the strategy starts from lap 1, right? You can't start saving fuel midway through a run. You can see what Garrett Lowe is doing and probably some others in terms of starting the fuel strategy now. The more fuel you can save now, the longer and different strategies you can play out there. And because you just have to look back to last year, it was Steven Wilson in, I think, double overtime that had enough fuel ultimately to put himself not only in position to have the lead, but get to the end of the race when others could not. A situation like that starts virtually on lap 1. You can't start that late and expect to be in position for a winning strategy.
We also saw several drivers run out of fuel before that final overtime attempt, and I think even Steven Wilson could admit in the moment he had barely enough fuel to get back around to the start-finish line to ensue the celebrations. Well, here is the defending champion running now 13th, tucking in right behind Dylan Basin, the rookie for RFK Racing, but of course for Wilson trying to lock up a second consecutive segment win. Picked up segment 1, the $3,000 and the 5 extra playoff bonus points. Already has a pair of wins this season. Breaks the tiebreaker against Bobby Zielinski, who also has 2, and trying to continue his segment winning streak. We haven't had a different segment winner since segment 1 back in 2025 when Zach Novak did it. Looks like Steven Wilson in the same mindset as Garrett Lowe. All these mid-pack drivers, Ryan, looking to save a bit of that gas. I think any of them kind of had that Harkman memories from 2025, and they're saying, yeah, not today.
Well, and for the viewers at home, you may be curious, well, it's only lap 9. Why are we already saving fuel? And the idea behind it is, once you get to that pit stop, yes, these guys all still need to make a pit stop regardless. As you see it right there, our estimated pit window is about 38 to 42 laps. If you're one of those guys who are able to stretch it later into the race, or even better, shorten your pit stop, that is time saved. And with the recent patch here on iRacing, pit stops are now in the 9-second bracket. So the least amount of time you can spend on pit road, the better that's going to help you in that final stint. Say this does go green to the end.
Interesting week for Steven Wilson, for me, Ryan, because what I saw last week in Iowa was that he was in position to win, and then he didn't. And just to me, it seems like Steven Wilson is always inevitable, right? Once he was able to get the strategy and get to the lead through his pit strategy, you know, there was plenty of thoughts in my head, Ryan, that was like, it's over. It's Steven Wilson at Iowa. This is what he does. And yet he wasn't able to maintain and finish that off. I'm not saying they've lost a step at all, but I just wonder coming back if there's any of that feeling for him that he's got to go out there and get this checkered flag again and kind of reestablish himself.
Well, and I don't think Steven Wilson's lost anything. The only thing he's lost right now is track position. He lost those 6 spots at the start of this race, and he has not gained any of them back. He is still running in the 13th position as now we watch this battle for 7th between Casey Kerwin and Jordy Lopez. And this is what I like seeing the onboard cameras here, Kenneth, is the different setups that some of these guys have. These two, they have pretty similar setups, but you know, whether you're one of those guys who has a full motion rig or you just want to play on the desk, on your desk at home, you know, our friends at Logitech got you covered, and it's so unique watching this. And Kenneth, I think that trophy's a pretty good flex right there behind Kerwin.
Yeah, just about to say, a little bit of a subtle flex for the 2022 eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing Championship Series champion, and Jordy Lopez, probably with the best hairline in all of eNASCAR for BS Plus competition. Picked up some top 10s on the way as well and had some good thoughts after Iowa last week. Very happy, of course, to see his teammate Garrett Lowe on top, but we've mentioned the team standings, how that also pays out. BS Plus competition have found a way to surge back even after a struggle to open 2026. They're now 3rd in team standings, and they both running well as we see it. Here's a great battle all the way behind. Wyatt Tinsley and the 17 for RFK Racing, the Ford Mustang of Sean Conklin. What a season already for Sean Conklin in the rookie standings, Alan, to be right up there with some of the best. And, you know, we talked about in the new qualifying series format and now how things have changed along the landscape with free agency, how difficult it is to not only stand out on track, but stand out as a personality. And for Sean Conklin, one of those that stepped into this series and said, why not take the bet? He's embraced the challenge and so far has handled 2026 in a rookie season very well.
He has, and he was able to work his way in through the qualifying series and be paired with another fellow rookie, Dylan Basin. And look, Seb Marin kind of lit the world on fire in the qualifying series, but it's been Sean Conklin who has shown the way here as a rookie, and he's one of the drivers that I picked to do well in our bracket challenge. Tonight he's actually going up against his teammate Dylan Basin. So I am picking that RFK rookie to do well because of what he's shown us. And again, a track like this, where track position matters, the strategy matters, maybe the experience factor kind of catches up with some of these rookies. We'll just have to see. But I have picked Sean Conklin based on performance to do well, not only tonight, but very well in the bracket challenge.
Also was very excited to be paired up with Dylan Basin because he says the two work well at super speedways. So I think, Ryan, when you have a tango partner like that, you can create somewhat of a Dancing with the Stars-esque segment. Try and take the golden ball. There's Sean Conklin running off of turn 2. Trophy in the background for the driver of the 17. And also someone who, again, has picked up a lot of momentum as of late. First career top 10 at Dover, and then backed it up with another top 10 at the Iowa Speedway last Tuesday. You just take a look at how they're wrestling around this Indianapolis Motor Speedway. And Ryan, this almost feels like such an oddball track to drive because it doesn't have that much banking. It's so shallow in every corner, but you still have to carry all that speed and momentum, plus the draft on these long straightaways. How do you try and balance that behind the wheel to make sure you don't lose on either end of that battle?
It is so incredibly hard to balance that, and it's really just because you're fighting an ever-long battle of how do I set up my car for this? Do I set up for the long straightaways here, or do I set up for the corners here? Do I focus on a little bit more mechanical grip? Maybe pack a little bit more downforce into my setup right here as we look at the RFK teammates, Dylan Basin and Sean Conklin. Both these drivers having a pretty solid night. Dylan Basin running in the 12th position right here. So, man, it's just, everybody's just trying to find that balance, tinker on what they want to tinker, and trying to get to the end of this race.
Yeah, a lot of work to do for Sean Conklin if he's going to beat his teammate and fellow rookie Dylan Basin, who's having a heck of a run tonight, sitting there up there in 12th. A lot of that, again, comes down to qualifying, right? But it's also maintaining your position and trying to execute the best strategy possible. And right now, that is going well for the Dylan Basins of the world. We're looking at the battle for 8th right here. Jordy Lopez in 8th right now, followed by Dylan Duval, Vicente Salas, and Colin Keister. You can see it's close. We saw some fuel savings going on. We know, obviously, in racing, you want to pass and press and everything, but if you're trying to save fuel, maybe you're okay with some of the decisions that are being made now. But also, you just have to make sure you make it to that pit stop and keep on your strategy to make it to the end of this race.
Just want to also say that RFK Racing didn't get the betterment of RNG at all in the William Byron Esports Bracket Challenge. They're against each other in round one, so there won't be an opportunity for both of them to make a deep run. It's kind of mano-a-mano tonight, so whether that entices a bit of rivalry between the two for one night only, I don't know if that's a great thing to talk about as teammates, but maybe a one-on-one, just as friendly banter, will be a ton of fun. There's Dylan Duval, who picked up his first career eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing Championship Series win here at Indianapolis. First Canadian-born driver to win any race in eNASCAR at this top level. Trying to work his way up through the field, and several other drivers that have so far been moving around through the running order. We mentioned Tucker Minter, still stagnant in his move up from the 19th starting spot. He's only up one to the 18th spot as we see it. And Cody Bias as well, who just lost that spot to Tucker Minter, trying to enable that fuel strategy situation. But again, track position between the mid-pack just hasn't changed. Maybe increments of 1, increments of 2 on either end of the spectrum, but it just has not changed so much. And that's where I think that strategy midway, where everyone wants to save in, is going to be that big turning point where they can try and make that big difference in the position overall.
And Ryan, it's probably not on Cody's mind at the moment, but his opponent in the bracket challenge is the driver currently leading this race. So yeah, Parker White in first, Cody Bias in 19th. Not the start you want, but long race, a lot of strategy going on. Again, some fuel savings. Got to work that track position game, but it's on our minds. Certainly we're watching the bracket as every one of these passes is made.
Absolutely, and we talked about fuel saving at the start of this race, but Cody Bias right there, we rode on board with him. He's not fuel saving at all. He's driving it into the corner, downshifting to fourth, letting the thing rotate as we see Tucker Minter take it to the third lane through turn number 3 there. I'm curious to see if he continues trying to widen the groove there. Right there again, he peeks the nose out to the outside of Garrett Lowe, getting the error on from the right side of that car. And I'm kind of interested to see this. We talk about the dynamic track that iRacing has here. It's an incredible system that kind of allows the racing groove to widen out. And man, I would not be surprised if this groove widens out here. We've seen it in real life, and now it's coming to play here.
Minter talking about some meet me at the wall. It's going down. He's trying to find an extra lane there, gain some extra speed, and has gained 2 since dropping back to 19th, up to that 17th spot. Now look on board with the 8 machine of Zach Novak, has bared the Charleston red colors for most of this season. And I think, guys, we know exactly who made these colors famous in eNASCAR. Brian LaPrade, the Ledford Billiard Supply car. When he ran for Junior Motorsports a few years back, Zach Novak carrying the same colors tonight here at the Brickyard and trying to go for another race victory in his career. Meanwhile, some good battles, a lot of them between rookies. Matthew Morton, Sebastian Barron, and Kenny Brady, a 3-way fight all the way in the back of the field for what's about 27th on the racetrack. I think this might be the most active point of the track we're seeing, Ryan, in terms of drivers getting at it for whatever they can early.
Well, and the biggest thing here is you're just trying to set these guys up to where you could peek to the inside of their left rear quarter panel heading off a corner, so that you can get the side draft. But then the other part of that battle is we kind of have this little bit of a draft line going on right here. Is if you set up a pass, is the guy behind you going to follow you, or are they going to stick with the car that's pinned to the outside? So I'm interested to see, once these tires start wearing a little bit more, once these guys start making a charge, we see a little bit of side-by-side racing back there. I'm interested to see who goes with who.
Ryan, we've talked about it in the real world. The drivers that win the Brickyard 400, Earnhardt, Jarrett, Johnson, Gordon, Hall of Fame champion drivers. And then we're seeing some of the rookies here struggle, in the back of the field here. I know they are rookies, but how much of that is experience? How much of that is just how tough this track can be, being flat and what have you? What's that like from a driver's perspective?
I mean, it's just so difficult because these tracks are so different. Every driver has their different driving style, right? Some guys are really good super speedway racers. Other guys are really good short track racers. This track right here, I don't even know what you compare it to, truthfully. you got a lot of off throttle time, but at the same time, you have to follow your partner down the straightaways as we see a little bit of snake action further back right there. It looks like Femi trying to hold on to the position there, but at the end of the day, it's just making sure that you're able to get that drive off the corner. And that's why you see these guys downshifting, getting a good drive as the 47 gets way sideways off of 3.
But now it becomes a conversation, right, guys, about the strategy. How different can you make your strategy compared to others? And here we go. First time tonight, drivers on pit road at lap 22. Dylan All, Thomas Lloyd among those that come in. And the same for another duo that are Chevrolets. Garrett Lowe and Tucker Minter are going to pit with 22 laps complete from the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Again, they were higher up in the field, but this mid-pack starting to crinkle in and start to think of things, Alan. Remember Iowa last week? We saw the wide difference in strategy. Tucker was among those to go way overcut on his strategy. Didn't work out for him at the end. Garrett Lowe tried to go a couple laps more than the pure short pit. And you think of difference in tracks, right? Iowa at 3/4 of a mile. We've got Indianapolis at 2.5 as the leaders come in, Parker White and Christopher Hill. But how different would the drivers play this one just because of you're burning more fuel at Indianapolis, obviously, compared to Iowa?
Yeah, the window is open, as we'd say. We talked about the pit window being about 38 to 42 laps. Well, what they're doing here is they're subtracting that from the end, right? So subtract about, 40 laps or so from 60, and you get this pit window of right now. That the window is open, you can make it from here with a full fuel tank, and that's what we're seeing much of the field doing. It's just a matter of that 1 or 2 lap difference. Some of these drivers will go further. They can make it to lap 38, 40. They can try something different. But if you have a fast car, you want the track position, you come now, and that's the strategy. We're going to see the different converging strategies here in a second. Right now, Ryan Luza is staying out and has inherited the lead. Ryan Luza, by the way, guys, is in the bracket challenge with Steven Wilson. A lot of people have Steven Wilson as their champion. If Ryan Luza can beat him tonight, that changes everything as he decides to pit now.
Well, now we wait for everyone to cycle through. Luza will lead a large group of cars in, and it's a full onslaught on pit road. Zach Novak, Bobby Zelensky, the FJRXL teammate of Ryan Luza. Seth the Merchant is in, leaving the lead to Jordy Lopez. Happened the same almost in a way at Iowa last Tuesday, where you did have those mega overcut drivers that basically just ran it all the way dry on fuel. But what this teaches me, Ryan, is that this doesn't look like a pure one-stop race as we see it. The drivers may intact go for a 2-stop strategy before the checkered flag, but it's really how much do they save if they do pit this early on, and how wild does it get as we approach halfway?
Absolutely, and we saw those guys saving fuel here as Jordy Lopez, your leader, is going to bring it down to pit road right here. Michael Cozy Jr. is going to inherit the lead there, but a lot of those guys who are saving fuel, my question is, how long do you stay out? How long do you risk kind of being out there, being on an island of your own? But at the same time, if you're some of those guys that pitted really early and you find yourself a lap down, you're just hoping that these guys eventually come to pit road. But it does not surprise me one bit to see the top two, Garrett Maines and Michael Cozy Jr. at the top of the scoring pile on here, because these two drivers are known for their aggressive driving style, but they're also known for their aggressive strategy plays. And it does not surprise me seeing them out there.
Yeah, I mean, you got to do something different, right? If you are not up front to begin with, if you didn't have the fastest lap or racing the fastest, do something different in terms of strategy. Michael Cozy Jr. has nothing but clear racetrack in front of him. We know he can go to about lap 40, 42, as we set our estimated pit window. So why not try something, roll the dice, because if he goes long and the caution comes out again, he will draw the whole field down pit road, likely once again, and it will have played into his hands. It's just a matter of if he gets a caution or not.
Well, and the other half of this, too, is, again, the pit window is 38 to 42 laps. So Michael Cozy Jr. has all the liberty in the world to stay out for another dozen or so laps if he so chooses. The real thing is we talked about, getting that clean air, but the biggest detriment that Michael Cozy Jr. is going to face here is not having the draft down the straightaways, and that is going to be a several tenths of a second difference between himself versus some of the cars that did pit and are with a little bit of a group of cars.
So Cozy Jr. continues to lead. Lap 26 here at Indianapolis Motor Speedway, and while Cozy does extend this strategy, it is not with a lot of company with him. Only 4 cars have stayed out until this point as we reach the halfway mark of race number 6 in this season. Logan Helton, Jake Nichols, and Ryan Doucette are the only other drivers to stay out this far on a strategy. Big question mark if they're able to survive and run it all the way dry to the official halfway mark. Well, as we continue in our green race from Indianapolis Motor Speedway, I want to remind you that coverage of tonight's broadcast is brought to you by Coca-Cola, the official fan refreshment of eNASCAR. By Logitech G, the official wheel and pedals of eNASCAR. And by NASCAR 25, NASCAR's official video game, available now on the Xbox Store, PlayStation Store, and Steam. Rather calm action from the Brickyard as we bring you back in Cozy Jr. for the ERA Esports team, the team owned by NASCAR driver Jesse Iwuji, still up at the front of this field. And almost interesting to me that some of these drivers are taking a heavy swing, but it's almost a why not, if you will. Some of these drivers have struggled over the course of the early portions of the year. Cozy is included in that group. We look back at Dover, the trouble he was in with Nate Stewart, just couldn't gain further track position. Charlotte so far is the only good finish for the driver of the 34, and others like Ryan Doucette and Jake Nichols. Ryan have been in this series before. They rejoin in a brand new era, and they're just taking this one all the way to as long as they can.
Absolutely. I mean, and that's just a big thing right there, right? It's just, you've had a rough season so far. You might as well just try something. There's no harm in it. There's no harm in going out there and trying to find, trying to basically get yourself into a situation where if we have a yellow, this race now falls perfectly in Michael Cozy Jr.'s hand. And speaking of traffic, look at this gaggle of cars led by Garrett Lowe in that 99 machine, followed closely by Vicente Salas. This is a tight group, and the BS Plus competition teammates right there as well. Jordi Lopez, the 3rd car in that train. So those teammates right there, as we see a little bit of battle here.
Here comes Salas to the inside, weaving down the front straightaway, taking the peak in turn 1, and he's got the entry, but Lopez fights back from the higher lane. Take the Chevrolet as they come to the short chute in turn 2, and Lopez denies Salas the entryway into the position as we watch the mid-pack continue to cycle through. But here's the biggest worry, Alan. All these cars merging together in one line. We saw how it worked at Iowa. Everyone kept it clean, but so far, tons of the action already going on in this mid-pack between drivers that are 1 or 2 laps apart in their strategy.
Yeah, racing, a lot of stress going on back here. That's why it's such a buffer for those first 4 in positions 1 through 4 right now who have not pitted yet. They have nothing but clean racetrack in front of them. They're not dealing with these passes, with this stress, with this need to race at the moment. They're just trying to make as clean as laps as possible and run as long as possible and hope that some of this action back here potentially causes a caution. That's the strategy that they're on. It could fall right into their laps if you were Michael Cozy, Logan Helton, Jake Nichols, or Ryan Doucette. If not, hey, it's absolutely worth the shot. Meanwhile, we see all this action going on back here and how tough it can be. They are pushing each other. You have to think about the end game, right, where there's also worries about fuel. You don't want to push it too much. We saw drivers right at the beginning of this race trying to save fuel as early as possible. If you're racing as hard as Vicente Salas and some of these other drivers were just now, you're not saving fuel, right? So you have to think about all these things all going on at once while you're trying to get to the end of the race.
Such a big debate on whether you want to push all the way into the end or keep it conservative until you can just unleash all that you have. Ryan Doucette, the 4th place car, comes in on pit road at the exact halfway mark of the race. So it's 3 cars that remain out there. It's Michael Cozy Jr., Logan Helton, Jake Nichols, all of them hoping that either a lucky yellow or just this distance alone can carry them to the checkered flag on a one-stop strategy. Beautiful racing from the Brickyard, this famed circuit. Let's take the sounds up and go iRacing full throttle. nothing quite like the sounds of when these cars roam free and sing here at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, where we've gone 34 laps under the green flag, and it's the number of the car that's leading the field, and he's the only one to stay out this long. Michael Cozy Jr. still in control of the lead. The gap to second place, the net race lead, should go to the hands of Parker White, the pole sitter this evening, but it's 32.3 seconds that separate those two cars from a change of hands. So, of course, we look at Ryan where Cozy Jr. would come down pit road, he gives up the lead, but the hope is in this strategy, potentially he can just come back slowly through the field. That tire advantage alone might be worth more than possibly going down earlier like a Jake Nichols, a Ryan Doucette, and the others that followed him in this long on strategy.
Absolutely, but the biggest thing that I'm concerned about if I'm Michael Cozy Jr. is if you do have to pit, he's been bleeding anywhere from about 3 to 4 to half a second, 3 to 4 tenths a lap on time here compared to the guys behind him. Parker White routinely has been about 4 tenths of a second faster than Michael Cozy Jr., who is your leader. So yeah, Michael Cozy Jr. has this 31 second lead, 32 second lead, but when he pits here, he's probably going to end up net losing where he actually started this run from. So man, if I'm Cozy, I'm waiting to hear somebody say, I'm around, throw it, or something like that, because man, it's such a nervous feeling. I've been in that spot. That Michael Cozy Jr.
is they're pot committed at this point, right? There's no one else. Everyone else has abandoned the strategy, right? He's doing what he has to. He has a bunch of clean racetrack in front of him. He's making the cleanest laps possible. But yes, pot committed to the strategy in terms of they need a caution. A caution likely draws everyone down once again to pit road, and that would effectively make him the leader on the same strategy as everyone else. So he has every incentive in the world to run this car absolutely dry. Not having the year he wants to have right now, this is a way to make it happen. Yes, you're hoping for a caution, you're basing it on a caution, but guys, that's the strategy. That's what you have to do if you're not the ultimate winning race car on speed. Some will say, you're just hoping for luck. I get that aspect of it, but you're also just basing it on strategy. Other drivers, other teams did one thing. Michael Cozy Jr., ERA, they're doing this because it puts them in the best position to possibly give them the best finish. I like the strategy. Nothing else is going to work, so keep on going. You never know.
Yeah, I'm looking at the
race. Well, as the moment of the race, Ryan, I think you're thinking, throw the virtual water bottle out there. Let the cautions fly. Have some debris out there.
Yeah, get that roll bar padding out of there. Yeah, get that roll bar padding out of there, Man, it came loose. The mechanics at the shop, that zip tie was not strong enough. Goodness
You did not
gracious.
see a 34 sticker on the bottle. I'm just saying that.
Yeah, exactly. But, I'm looking at the lap times right now. Michael Cozy Jr., despite losing some time earlier in this run with all these guys having fresher tires, it's kind of leveled out a little bit. Parker White, who is in your second spot, 30-some-odd seconds back, ran a 52.7. Michael Cozy Jr. just flipped across the line at a 53.0, so only losing 3/10 of a second, but 3/10 of a second is really going to add up. That doesn't sound like a lot, but man, that is several positions. You see how tightly knit all these cars are. That's fractions of a second between each other, so I am anxious to see where he would shake out as we see a really nice pass being set up right there. Brilliant job right there.
Garrett Maines throwing it into the corner, turn 4, trying to hang to the quarter panel of the rookie Thomas Lloyd for Latar Esports. Steve Latar, the owner of that esports team that's been around for a little while in this eNASCAR series, is denied the opportunity in turn 4. So Lloyd will hold on to what is position number 29. And there we are. Michael Cozy Jr., after 38 green flag laps, says this is his moment to pit road.
We knew it was going to happen. They were going to run out of laps, Ryan, but I wanted to see him go just a little more. You never know. If the caution were to come out now, man, he'd be kicking himself.
I was going to say, the worst feeling for Michael Cozy Jr. could possibly be is if he comes off pit road and that yellow comes out. Because that is, you've made your bet at this point, and now here comes the field bearing down on Michael Cozy Jr. as he just sits idly on pit road. What a gutting feeling. But, like I said, I got to commend him. Going for that kind of move, it's a bit brave, but we saw right there at just a twitch of the wheel, someone goes around and now you're sitting pretty.
And in hand, Parker White has the race lead once again. at the tune of 22 laps to go. The gap isn't too long. You see him on the screen on the back straightaway. 0.7 of a second that separate White and Christopher Moneyhill, as they call him. A one-lap difference better. Oh, there's a car nearly spinning in turn 2 and saves it. Kenny Brady hangs on to the race car, and a quick scare from the field, but Kenny Brady saves it and will stay green.
Yeah, Cozy's probably saying, where was that action when I was in the lead, guys? Come on.
All I was thinking about.
Goodness
But
gracious.
Oh, here's the replay.
Seth Knoll, the car right in front. Brady dives in turn 2, trying to make some space, and the car just unravels from underneath him. And you could give credit to the safer barrier. That almost saved Brady's race from going officially around, but picks up some of the hard right front and right rear damage. That puts Brady all the way back to 38th. And remember Michael Cozy Jr.'s pit stop around 2 laps ago. He is recycled in the field to 24th. Good news is he's got at least 16 or more better lap tires than the rest of the field. So there could be an opportunity for Cozy through this run to regain slowly some of that track position and make his way potentially back into the top 15 or top 10 for the driver for the ERA Esports team. Oh, we mentioned BS Plus competition. They've moved well together, Ryan, over the last few weeks. They're moving well in synchronizing motion right now. 2 drivers, 10th and 11th, right on the outskirts. Lopez a bit better tires than the 99 machine right in front. But those 2 teammates have gained momentum over the last few races and take the track, make it bigger from Dover and Iowa the last few weeks. Doesn't phase those 2 cars tonight.
Absolutely. I mean, if you look at the team standings right now, BS Plus competition, they sit in 3rd, a good ways back from 2nd and 1st, but nonetheless, they are sitting 11th and 10th in this race. Spire Motorsports, they lead it. You got Steven Wilson in 8th right there, but Femi all the way back in the back half of the field here. I believe he's all the way back. Let's take a look right here at the timing and scoring. He's back in 32nd. So right now, BS Plus is actually going to leave here positive to your leaders here. They're going to be gaining that ground. So these are the kind of races, if you're that team, that you want to have. Hey, let's get both cars in the top 10. Let's get both cars fighting for a top 5. That's where you want. You could have, Steven Wilson up at the front, but if you have another car that's in the 30s, that's only going to hurt your points average.
So they'll work through the field as it sits. Garrett Lowe getting his first win last week at Iowa in the series. First one since 2024. Charlotte was the last time he visited Victory Lane in that year. And what was the closest eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing Championship Series finish at 1/1000th of a second over Jimmy Mullis. So Garrett Lowe hoping that the magic can carry him through the rest of this regular season. That one win already books his ticket into the playoffs later this season. Well, we talk about drivers with good races tonight. Of course, Parker looking for his first win since the finale race in 2024 when he won the title at the NASCAR Hall of Fame. Christopher Moneyhill, the William Byron Esports number 25. You look at now, Alan, on a roll tonight, qualified well, and after what was a season that started off strong at Charlotte and kind of deteriorated over the last few races, it is picking up in a well note tonight. And the William Byron Esports Bracket Challenge round for him is going well, I think.
Yeah, and I'm looking at this battle going on right here. That's the 50 of Quentin Warman being followed closely in the 199, the Travis Pastrana ride of Dylan Duval. Guys, this is the upset that I picked tonight. Quentin Warman is a 24 seed. Dylan Duval is the 9 seed in this race, and they are head-to-head right now in the 15th and 16th positions. This would be a huge upset and very good for my bracket if it finished like this. But they've been close together throughout the night. That pit cycle seemed to jumble things around. Warman was able to get the track position on Dylan Duval. It seems like Duval had the better car through that first run. It's just a matter of making that pass now. But these little battles throughout the field are what some drivers, a lot of us are thinking about right now.
Was the pick that could be one of the surprising ones, but Warman, you think of the contradicting note, at least the difference, juxtaposition between the two drivers. Warman only in his 2nd Indianapolis start of the series. Dylan Duval running in his 8th career Indianapolis race. He's been around for a while. He's seen it all through the likes of eNASCAR, and one of the newer drivers in Warman trying to take him down early in that William Byron Esports Bracket Challenge presented by Logitech G. Those two drivers running 14th and 15th on the racetrack as it sits, and just like it was in the first run, single file through it all. But remember, everyone came down pit road at around lap 20 to 25, Ryan. So is there that possibility we're going to see at least a second stop from the field before this is all said and done?
And I don't know. I mean, I feel like at this point, everyone's so closely knit, so tight together. I think everybody's pretty much playing their strategy right? I have confidence that these guys are not putting themselves in a box. Now, if we get to 2 or 3 to go and there's a yellow, everybody's got to come to pit road. It is a no-brainer. You need to come to pit road because not only do you need tires, but frankly, you need gas. These guys are absolutely putting it to the limit on where they're at on fuel. And I know some of those guys, they also saved, so I'm sure they baked a little bit of insurance as Wyatt Tinsley gets way sideways off of turn number 3 there. It is so treacherous when you're in that dirty air in the middle of the pack. Thomas Lloyd leads that train off of turn number 4.
Almost feels interesting when you're in that dirty air versus that moment you step out of it, right, Ryan? Where
Different
it feels almost like a boat in the middle of the corner, and then you just get that hair of clean air, and it almost feels like a sled just sliding through the middle of the corner. Wyatt Tinsley trying to catch up to Thomas Lloyd, the battle for 30th, and about a few cars deep, with Femi Olatunbosun, Sebastian Marin, Tommy Gossett among those that are in this sort of 5-car breakaway, if you call it, down the back straightaway. That's where they have settled in and are hoping for somewhat of a race-changing yellow. Might be, Alan, maybe not surprising if we do get a yellow, that these drivers maybe not come in or maybe take 2 tires on their stop to try and gain some more after what they've lost over the course of the race.
You got to try something, and we're looking at another bracket matchup here on your screen. Bobby Zielinski running well. You know, look, we know how good he was with the wins early on in the season. Now he's up here against Seth the Merchant as they battle for 5th up in the top 5. This would be an excellent bounce back for Bobby Zielinski, but the battle that they're having, again, things on the line with the bracket challenge, but you expect to see drivers like Bobby Z doing well at a track like the Brickyard, but he's had a few off weeks here recently, so to climb back up those standings, and we know what happened to him in Dover at the end with Steven Wilson, it kind of really hurt his segment 2 potential in terms of getting that victory, getting those extra money and bonus points. So he's just trying to finish strong and make this playoff run once that comes around.
And Ryan, that's your pick as well. Seth the Merchant, Bobby Zielinski, those two very close to each other. And Zielinski on a bit of an uncharacteristic course. A big correction for Dylan Alt, the 47 Hayek Motorsports Chevrolet, taking for a ride off turn 4 in the attempt to catch Donovan Strauss. Inside comes Garrett Maines. Look to turn 1. Battle for 27th on the racetrack with Blaze Crawford in that Team Dylan Esports number 3 machine. Again brushing the wall. Maines hanging close. Maine takes the spot in turn 2. What a battle.
And that's just a product right there of that momentum loss. Dylan lost all the momentum when he got loose on the inside of Donovan Strauss. Garrett Maines able to take advantage of it. And speaking of Donovan Strauss, this isn't the only race he's doing this week. He has a Truck Series race this weekend with Nice Motorsports in the number 4 machine. So he's number 4 on the sim, and number 4 in real life is again Dylan Alt has a big moment in the middle of turns 3 and 4. I think he's fighting a pretty ill-handling race car.
Trying to hang on for dear life. Now one of those great sim-to-reality stories, right, for the driver of that machine in Donovan Strauss, and someone also like Vicente Salas, who have used their eNASCAR experience to gain connections in the real world and are now making a name for themselves out there.
And well earned, too. I mean, these guys have shown their talents on the sim, and they've shown their talents in real life. Vicente, a very accomplished go-karter in real life, and has translated that into late model success, into Truck Series starts, Xfinity Series, O'Reilly Series starts. So it's impressive to see how these drivers are able to take what they learn on the sim, and that just goes to show how iRacing continues to develop these young racers. It's a whole new world nowadays. This just kind of proves that if you have the ability to hop on the sim and just grind it out and learn, man, who knows who you're going to meet. We've seen guys like Josh Berry meet T-Motor Dale Earnhardt Jr. and find himself into racing. So exciting stuff to see there.
And even if some of these sim drivers, don't get behind the wheel in the real world, they are helping behind the scenes, right? I mean, our old champion, Keegan Leahy, works for 2311 Racing. Tyler Reddick has credited him for the help and getting him victories on road courses. Steven Wilson, the champion in our series, we don't see him behind the wheel in the real world, but we know he's behind the scenes at Spire Motorsports. helping teams, helping drivers like Carson Hocevar make laps, get data. They are real-world success stories that are helping big NASCAR teams find success on the racetrack, and you can't undercut that story because their talents are moving over into the real world.
And the two sim-to-reality storyline drivers running nose to tail. Wilson running 9th, Garrett Lowe just on the back end of the top 10. And here comes Salas, take a peek from the high shove in turn 1 on Jordi Lopez. We saw Jordi do this defensive maneuver on the outside of the racetrack just a few times, and Salas is denied there at the exit of turn 1 through the short chute. But we know he's going to try once again, and we also have seen the likes of a few drivers gain track position since the start. Garrett Lowe fell back to 17th in the qualifying order, but has gained 7 since the drop of the green up into that final top 10 spot. And Jordi Lopez, like Lowe, trying to make an impression in the segment 2 standings, which comes to a close tonight. And again, very crucial, the $3,000, the 5 extra playoff bonus points. Even if you don't have a win this season, 5 extra playoff bonus points means a lot. If you gain momentum, you're one of those 10 in the playoffs later this season, you already have a jump up over the rest of the field and a few others if you can get the segment win. So Lowe, Lopez, and a few others run single file as it stands, and this battle just continues. The fireworks show in the back of this field, guys. It almost seems to never cease in Indianapolis, but now as we've seen it, the strategies have almost come to a close, right? 9 laps to go. Almost thought for a minute, Alan, that we were going to have an extra pit stop for the leaders, but they felt they can be comfortable all the way to the end by pitting early. They've done so, and they've taken advantage in this final stretch.
I think every car and team wants to pit again. I think every car and team would love a new set of tires and 0 questions about fuel, but maybe you get one, you did not get the rest of the field to do that and follow you down. So it's just not in the cards right now, especially if you are Parker White as the leader, having the track position. This battle for second heating up between Christopher Hill and Zach Novak. If Zach Novak's going to have any shot at getting Parker White the leader, he has to make this pass now and make some quick work of it. It looks like the 8 car for Junior Motorsports, Dale Jr. owned vehicle there for Zach Novak. It looked like he was going to make easy work of Christopher Hill. Not so easy. Parker White loving what he's seeing behind him right now.
As long as they continue battling, that's further lost time, Brian. And I think, of course, Parker enjoying that, but for Christopher Hill, understood that he had some power there defensively. We haven't seen the inside work as well as maybe we thought it would now that this track has rubbered in. And how does that feeling really change the effect of the race cars? We watched the battle for 10th. 2 teammates go at it off turn 4.
And those 2 BS Plus competition teammates right there, they're fighting tooth and nail for that top 10 spot. And right now, you got Vicente Salas licking his chops right there, trying to take advantage of whatever he can. Garrett Lowe concedes the position. Here comes Vicente Salas trying to make work of it. Will he be able to get to the inside? He does not. Vicente shuffles in line behind Garrett Lowe. But going back up to this battle for second right here, Zach Novak, he clearly has the better driving race car than Christopher Hill there. But if you guys get stuck racing side by side like that, you're only going to let that 95 car scoot even further into the distance.
Still back to the tune of around 0.6 of a second, but still maintaining even, although White last time by was faster. 52.666 for the driver of the 95, 52.7s in the engaged battle for second. As here comes the showdown once again down the main straightaway. Novak peaks, half look to the inside, decides better of it in turn 1, so we'll keep this eye on the battle for second. And remember, Ryan Luza is not too far away in the background for 4th, and neither is Bobby Zelensky or a few other cars in the back half of the top 10. So maybe those 2 engage in battle and in combat for a long while could open that door for a few others to reap in the benefits of a situation that really had nothing to do with them, but they just take advantage as Lowe falls back, Salas breaks through, and Basin tries to crack the top 12.
And talking about Ryan Lusa, going back to him sitting there in 4th, guys, he is the 32 seed in the bracket challenge. And right now he is running 4th, and I'm getting a little worried because I picked Steven Wilson to win the whole thing. If this race ended now, which it will in just about 5 laps, the entire race, Ryan Lusa has been ahead of Steven Wilson, and it would be the upset of the century in this bracket challenge if he can pull it off. That's how significant the Ryan Lusa finish would be right now. He's sitting there in 4th and looking like he could get a few more positions.
I was going to add to that. I can almost guarantee you that if that were to happen, I'd say probably 2/3 of people's brackets would probably be busted right there, just knowing that Steven Wilson would be out in the first round.
Did Ryan lose his family even pick him over Steven Wilson tonight? I'm not so sure.
Oh man, I mean that's a tough one. And Dylan Basin right there, he got the wall off of turn number 2, and that's going to bring that whole group. Dylan Duval, that Pastrana team, a Channel 199 sim racing team owned by Travis Pastrana, right on his tail, and that whole group behind there.
I will say though, if this upset holds for Ryan Luza, we're just going to need a graphic. William Byron Esports, eNASCAR, somebody put a graphic out there that just says busted in big red letters for almost everybody who probably thought Steven Wilson was going to break free in round number 1. But more bracket talk that's in the middle of the bracket challenge. William Byron Esports Chevrolet. Tucker Minter is watching the Dylan Duval and Quentin Warman battle come down to the very wire. Duval taking the inside, wiggled the right rear at the exit of turn 2, had a look underneath Dylan Basin, but decided to just back out because the car was on the edge of control. But the field looks to 3 laps to go from Indianapolis in what could be our third flag-to-flag affair in the 2026 season. Alan, it is heating up.
It really is, and all these positions matter in the terms of the segment standings, in terms of the season-long standings, and getting in that playoff. Some are looking at their bracket right now, but as this race goes on with 3 to go, it's getting racier. Maybe some of the tires are going away, handling is changing, but we are seeing cars with the ability to make passes as time is running out here.
We are not invincible to a late race yellow here at Indy. We had double overtime here last season, where Steven Wilson was able to take the victory. Not sure if I'm throwing that out there as a commentator's jinx, but there is dwindling time left. Here's Casey Kerwin looking on Bobby Zelensky, a driver who wants a pick-me-up moment after Iowa, where he crashed early in the heat, could not recover for the rest of the feature race, while Duval takes the inside, striking, pivoting under the 6 machine for RFK Racing. Out of turn 4, it is still side by side. Duval breaks through, taking the 13th with 2 laps to go.
And don't look now, but that's Michael Cozy Jr. He's one of those drivers that stayed out long. We talked about how long he stretched his fuel, how long he stretched his tires. He's now making some headway, breaking into the top 15. He's going to net even pretty soon with where he started. As we see right there, Dylan Basin getting way wide, way squirrely. Oh, sorry, that was not Dylan Basin. That was somebody else.
And there's trouble in turn 1. Car sideways. They're saving it for now. Now a spinner, and Thomas Lloyd is the one to bring out the yellow flag. This is not over yet from Indianapolis.
Yeah, producer Drew in our ears saying hashtag blame Bueno. I knew I saw somebody sideways. I just couldn't get my eyes on the number. But man, oh my goodness, if you are Parker White, you are punching air right now. What in the world? You had this race won, signed, sealed, and delivered, and it is now coming down to overtime.
This changes everything. People are going to come down pit road. We're going to line them up. The most aggressive portion of this race was the restart, was the initial start of this race, and we haven't had another one yet. So we get to see this all over again on the narrow front stretch of Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Overtime here in eNASCAR.
I don't know if I want to say a word further after that moment right there. The caution happened in turn 1. It was a 3-car mess that was fighting for position. Femi Olatunbosin, Sebastian Marin, and Thomas Lloyd. But it's now up to the pit stop. And remember, Ryan, you made up a good point earlier on tonight. The newest patch on iRacing came out today. Before, 4 tire pit stops would equate to around 14, 15 seconds with fuel. Now it's around 9 to 10 seconds to reflect what real life is after. So it's going to be shorter trips overall in the box. But again, the fundamentals will be so crucial if Parker White wants to win this race.
And the other question is, do you take 4? Do you take 2? I'm so curious. Do you even stay out? Do you try and risk it right here like Christopher Hill, Nak Novak, they both stay out. Your leader, Parker White, he comes down. The next one behind him, Casey Kerwin.
Interesting call. Some are taking the track position. The more people behind Parker White that don't stay out, it's going to be just, that's a lot of cars that stayed out. Parker White not going to win this race, guys.
Christopher Hill leads him out. Zach Novak second. Ryan Luza third. And we wait for the full output of cars that have elected to remain on the racetrack. But you took a look on the front straightaway. That is a hefty list that car number 95 in Parker White now has to trudge through. Here's a look at the replay.
Oh.
Pair of Chevrolets. Femi Olatunbosin inside. Thomas Lloyd outside. And Ryan, I don't know if it was Lloyd just trying to shut the door there in turn one or just every position for what it's worth coming to the white flag. But there was that initial bump off the bumper and around that 36 win.
I'm just kind of curious as to what was kind of leading up to that. We saw a lot of door banging all the way down that front straightaway there that led to just the contact right there. Looks like it goes off the front bumper of Femi Olat. Man, that's just such a unique incident, especially going into the corner, Alan. You don't see a lot of incidents where guys get shipped like that going in on entry.
No, you don't wonder if someone, whether it was a checkup or a handling issue, something that happened. But no, you don't see that very often at a track like the Brickyard in that particular spot. But it has changed everything. Remember, these drivers, the ones that stayed out, they pitted a long time ago. They pitted with such an early window. And this was maybe the worst case scenario in terms of fuel load and how long they have to go. They're obviously not that worried because they decided to stay out and keep the track position and not worry about the fuel. But Kenneth, one more of these, you never know.
Put on the Justin Timberlake. What goes around comes around. We had fuel strategy last year, and it's fuel strategy here in 2026. We close out segment 2 tonight. Only one more opportunity for the drivers to have a 3-race stint that gets them $3,000 and the 5 playoffs bonus points before the regular season comes to a close. We're live from the Music City in a few weeks' time, July 28th, 8 p.m. Eastern, right here on the iRacing Esports Network. Nashville Super Speedway was a wild race. When we last had it, we did have multiple different winners there. Can we have some of the same magic in the Music City in a few weeks from now? But there is lots on the board, and as the timing has cycled around, Parker White came off of pit road first, but there are at least 16 cars that have stayed out. So it is going to be a long journey back to the front. And again, with the eNASCAR overtime, it could be limited, and if it goes green or if we go another time. So Ryan, do you expect to see at least one more yellow with the merge we may have in fresh tire and old tire cars here?
I mean, look, we've seen it time and time again with the races here in Indianapolis, especially with these late restarts. Everybody is going to be funneling into these very tight corners here. There's not going to be room for the 3 and 4 wide action that we are getting ready to see. And, you know, if you're these guys up front, I actually don't feel too worried. So many people stayed out with you that you have a little bit of a buffer. You have, I wouldn't say a little bit, quite a bit of a buffer to those cars behind. It's more or less, will the guy to my inside not spin out trying to pass me?
Well, here we go. Attempt number 1 at eNASCAR overtime. We have 2 laps to finish this one. If the field gets to the white flag, then this race is official no matter what happens between the white flag take and the taking of the checkered flag. Now, if we do get another yellow before the white is thrown, we'll double them up and do it again. We'll tell you that story if it does happen. But in the meantime, it's the sophomore, Christopher Money Hill, trying to strike jackpot for the first time in his Coke Series career, while Zach Novak, the experienced man on the outside with at least 14 other cars, have stayed out on the old set of Goodyear Eagles. Who survives in overtime at the Brickyard? Christopher Hill, Zach Novak lead the field back to the green flag, and it's an illustrious jump for the William Byron Esports number 25. Breaking free is Hill. It's a mess for the field. Side by side, 4 wide in turn 1.
And it's not going to work. They're sideways back there. Jordy Lopez is sideways. Dylan Duval sideways. They're all wrecking.
Oh my goodness. We almost got
a parking lot in turn 1. And almost everyone is involved.
Steven Wilson's in there. He was backwards right there.
I mean, we almost saw air. We almost saw a barrel roll. I don't want to say we expected it, but to anyone who's ever been to Indianapolis Motor Speedway, it is so narrow It's hard to see it on television. It's hard to see it here on the sim. It is such a narrow piece of racetrack that even 2 wide can be sketchy. 3, 4 wide, never going to work, especially on old tires in overtime. Rough start for them.
And it looked like it all started around Jordi Lopez and Colin Keister with Dylan Duval, who made the move underneath 3 wide. Those cars just got put in a bottleneck position as they came through turn 1, and there was somewhat of slight contact before basically the rest of the field is involved in that. And Ryan, I mean, Indianapolis is not the narrowest track in the world, but you put 3 wide and turn 1 off the short chute and somebody goes around, I'd imagine it's kind of a hard time trying to find open space to wiggle through.
Well, you got to look at all the factors here, right? This track is so narrow. The racing groove is so narrow. The track on the outside lane is dirty. You got a lot of cars funneling, trying to squeeze down to the inside line. It's inevitable at that point that you're going to make contact, and the fact we saw effectively a track blocker like that is crazy. But now my attention turns to Christopher Hill. We talked about the fuel mileage. We said that 42 laps was about the max that you can get. He is in the middle of lap number 41 of his stint, and he is coming to pit road.
Oh, wow.
And just like the shades of last year, where the leader, after the first attempt at overtime, has to visit pit road, Christopher Hill will give up all the track position to try and make it. Bobby Zelensky is also out of fuel. Seth the Merchant also cannot guarantee that he makes the checkered flag. And the 2 drivers that you look at right now that stay out are on lap 41 of their stints. It's a question on how much did they actually save compared to everyone else. And look who runs in 3rd. Michael Cozy Jr., who stayed out the longest of anyone in the mid portion of this race. 38 laps and an overtime attempt number 2. He's got a chance to win the deal.
He's now on the best tires, for anyone in front of him, with the most fuel. Whew. What a position for Michael Cozy Jr. to be in. Let's look at the replay.
So we'll look in turn 1, and Ryan 3 wide off the jump. Duval got a great jump on the inside of Jordi Lopez, and it looks like it all really chronically starts where Colin Keister gets sideways.
I can't help but laugh just seeing the giant plume of smoke off of turn number 1, but you saw right there Jordi Lopez got squeezed as he was the middle car going through this sandwich through the middle of turn 1 there, and he just squeezes back down into Dylan Duval, and then the rest of the field piles in. You see Connor Urashak squeeze through. What a... Alan, have you ever...
Not at Indianapolis Motor Speedway. I mean, some of these shots, the parking lot shot. Oh, my goodness. Oh,
catching air was Dylan Duval there. I almost thought that car was going to go upside down. At a moment they're coming off of the short chute, and you were on board with Matthew Morton. He's an Ohio native, but that's a Harlem Shake if I've ever seen one. In the middle of the pack, there's Steven Wilson involved. The E-Racer cars got into it. And again, just a parking lot. Cars all over the place in turn 2, and not many of them survived that dealing blow. Many of them coming on pit road. Keister, Duval, Noel, Tommy Gossett. Garrett Maines among those that just hit pit road a second time. And meanwhile, the fresh tire cars, you have to go back to 8th place. So Parker gains 9 net positions since that overtime restart in just a big crash that happened right in front of him.
And here's what I'm looking at right now is Cozy is on an island by himself, Alan. Everyone around him has 42, 42, 42, 43, 41 laps. It's going to be really tight.
Ooh.
Well, remember, we talk about what's on the line tonight. $3,000 and 5 playoff bonus points. It was a 2-point swing for the lead of this segment. It's still close, guys. 4 points up at the top of it all. Remember, Wilson was involved in the incident. Vicente Salas runs this one in the top 5 as we see it with Garrett Lowe. You have to mark him in 11th once we get this green flag, but it's right on the marker. Things can change quickly. 12 points between the top 3 at a coveted spot for some cash prize and some very pivotal bonus points. Even if they're not able to take the checkered flag tonight. It is Zach Novak at the head of this field in our second attempt of eNASCAR overtime. Novak won this race back in 2017 of this eNASCAR series. That was way in another era. Gen 6 Cup cars, a lot of different types of driving styles. And now we run in this final overtime attempt with Ryan Luza on the outside of row 1. Michael Cozy Jr., we watch him on the inside of row 2. He's got the freshest set of tires of most of the drivers who have stayed out and the best fuel marker of anyone. Can they run it dry? And will this one be official after a second attempt? Pace cars down. Field sees the green flag for what could be the final time from the Brickyard. Novak and Luza see the restart zone. Firing off. They both go, but it's an even jump. Novak breathes ahead by just a split margin. Inside goes Cozy, looking for second. Back to turn 1. And make it 4 wide. They're crashing off one again. Morton's around. We'll do it again.
We'll see how it's scored if Cozy was able to get into that second position, but more fuel, more laps that Zach Novak, Ryan Luza have to make. I know he didn't get the lead right away, but Michael Cozy Jr. sitting there in third has to be smiling, just wondering how much longer can these other 2 cars in front of him go.
And what felt like a very quick breeze through the first, call it 59 laps of this race, has now turned into what feels like an eternity for the field. Look at pit road. No one from the front comes in. So Novak and Luza can possibly assure their trip to a third overtime attempt, but that, of course, breezes past the maximum of the fuel window. Now they're at 44 laps before we even get the green flag, and it's radio silence. Looks like we'll get pit road open next time by. But is Zach Novak coasting with the field? They're trying to catch the iRacing official pace car that should meet them at around the back straightaway, so it'll take a while before we cycle things through. But Alan, I'm not too sure that we're done with the chaos just yet on strategy with those 2 cars at the front.
And we'll take a replay here, but remember last year, I mean, it was Steven Wilson winning on this strategy, if you will, right? Even with the multiple overtimes, was able to stretch the fuel. It can be done. It's just a matter of, can it be done again? Because there's some other cars that said, and I had to pit. Now it's Zach Novak and Ryan Luza trying to figure out if they're going to stretch it once again.
There are 5 cars in this field that are at least on lap 43 of their stint. Cozy, of course, not included in that. And then the rest of them are the drivers that came in before the first overtime attempt had started. So Parker White, Vicente Salas, Nate Stewart, all those drivers that are through. And we're just seeing a whole confusion ball here at Indianapolis. The field's trying to catch the iRacing official pace car. Pit road remains closed as it stands. And there are drivers just trying to coast this to the end as much as they can. They finally catch the pace car off of turn 1, but a confusing setup scenario that I think is going to frustrate some of those at the front, Ryan, because they know they had an opportunity to come in probably a lap earlier, but those shenanigans will keep them out a little longer.
And it raises the question of, what is Zach Novak's situation here? We know he's low. We know he has to pit, right? But it took him so long to catch the pace car that it extended this caution period an extra lap. So that right there has already put himself and some of his other competitors, maybe it was a little bit of a, I guess you could say, a poker face right there by Zach Novak. Hey, let me extend this a little bit. Let me put my fellow competitors who are in a worse spot than I am, let's run them dry. I know I can at least make it back to pit road, but let's make those guys have to possibly tow, possibly get stuck falling through the field. So, man, this is a jumbled up mess. Kenneth, I don't know what to make of it, but man, I'm sitting here and enjoying it for sure.
Yeah, just trying to figure out who can make it to the end. How it's a race to go slow in terms of saving gas, but also playing games. It's chess and checkers here at the same time. Michael Cozy Jr. he looks like he wants to go so bad. He's got plenty of fuel. He's got nothing to worry about. He's wondering what this 8-car and 12-car Ryan Luza are going to do. And Red light's still on.
Pit road is still closed.
Huh. Okay.
And we're getting
Gold
word that
pit
it is
road.
open now in the sim. Blake Reynolds is going to come in. There's Matthew Morton repairing the damage on his TC Esports Toyota Camry, the driver of the team that's owned by Belgian goalkeeper Thibaut Courtois. And the Channel 199 Sim Racing 86 of Blake Reynolds is on the pit lane while the rest of the field stays out for overtime attempt number 3. So Zach Novak continues to hope that he saved enough fuel alongside Ryan Luza to make it and stretch until the end. But now we are starting to get to that crossover point of those who did come down pit road much earlier are starting to make their way up front. White, Kerwin, Lowe, Warman, the rest of the field for the most part have visited pit road within the last 10 or so laps. So they know, even with the extended pace lap, they're comfortable well more than enough until the end, even if we have a few more overtime attempts from Indianapolis. But Ryan, it's definitely anticipation and somewhat of anxiety for Novak, Luza, and their team's understanding. They are so close, yet so far from the finish.
One thing I've got to say, too, is, if you're Michael Cozy Jr., you know you're good for a couple more restarts. Say we need them, hopefully not. But you also have those fresh tire drivers right behind you, breathing down your neck. But all these restarts, all this stop and go. Correction, this is going to be it right here. So this is the final attempt at overtime. So right now, Michael Cozy Jr. finds himself quite a bit in the catbird seat, but with all those fresh tire guys behind him, he has no time to think. He needs to go and go now.
And I like the call. If you're Zach Novak and Ryan Luza at this point, I mean, if you pit, you lose, right? You're not going to win. The only shot that you have is staying out there and hoping you got enough fuel. That it's the best strategy for winning this race right now. Because coming down pit road, you lose with a full tank of gas. What fun is that, right? Or you can win with nothing in the tank. I like the chances.
Last chance to make an effort for the race win at Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Green flag in the air for the final attempt of eNASCAR overtime, and the field is even. Spread across, 3 wide, coming to turn 1. Novak has the nose ahead. Luza tries to fight back. They're crashing in turn 1. Can they save it? Who's got the nose ahead to the line? Caution flag waves. And the race will come down to a close. Timing shows Ryan Luza was ahead at the timing of the yellow.
Now the question is, can he coast around for these next lap and a half here? Because remember, that's what it's going to take. He's got to go all the way around, catch the pace car, and take the checkered flag. He's got to take the white flag first, then the checkered. So it's not over
Novak
yet.
out?
Novak's slow.
Well, he was dropping positions. This is a crazy end of the race, guys. We're going to figure it out.
Cozy letting drivers by. Everyone's still going almost at full song. And Ryan Luza is trying to make the white flag, but just like the last yellow, they're trying to catch the iRacing official pace car. That was a course of debate. They went the extra lap because the pace car was there. But as we see it, Ryan Luza is coasting in turns 1 and 2. The race is changing position still on what's considered the white flag lap. We don't know who's going to make it to the end of this race. And is it going to be Parker White that makes it to the checkered flag first? Malik Ray, Casey Kerwin, other drivers fighting side by side behind. And they're starting to gain traction. Parker White is pulling away down the back straightaway. This race is not over. And the caution comes out. It looks like Ryan Luza's going to be up at the front. They're picking up the pace car. But Ryan Luza's out of fuel. So we'll run it back to the line in a very bizarre ending at Indianapolis. And everyone's going through to the pace car. Luza letting everyone by because, of course, he just ran out at the cross of the line, but the yellow came out right as they were exiting turn 1, and the drivers trying to discuss the ending of this race, guys. What a bizarre sequence of events. And in all of that, Ryan loses at the back of this all. They're coming across the line. It looks like Tucker Minter and Casey Kerwin are out of gas. What is happening here in Indianapolis?
These guys are afraid to get a black flag right here. So they're trying to sort it out amongst themselves.
Oh, jeez.
Race control is telling the field to just go and catch the pace car. That's where Parker White is right now. But it is just an odd scenario. The field getting the yellow. They were trying to catch the pace car. Minter and White join each other's forces on the back straightaway as the continued discussions rally through the voice chat. I don't know if anyone knows what's going on in this race, but it's Parker White and Tucker Minter that will coast down the back straightaway. We know they did come down pit road on the first attempt of overtime before, so we knew they were good regardless of the outcome. It was Ryan Luza who had the nose out in front when the caution came out in the fight against Zach Novak, and we await further decision from race control on what this is going to happen and how this will affect the point scenario. But that's what's going on. Drivers trying to pass each other and then not pass each other to avoid any penalties until the end, because on iRacing they will tell you to pass and let go other cars. It's the case in jumbled fashion for everyone in the field, and everyone's trying to figure this out to close this race.
Regardless of what happens here, impressive battle up front for Ryan Luza and all those guys up there. They did a heck of a job making sure that they put themselves in position, making sure that they were there at the end of this race. Zach Novak, those two guys were fighting tooth and nail.
And this is it. Race control have given us the official word that Parker White is the winner of round 6 in the 2026 eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing Championship Series. White, the pole sitter, burning it down. This is your Coca-Cola winning moment. So it took us a while to figure this one out, but regardless, this was your Coca-Cola move of the race, and this is undeniable. Rookie Matthew Morton seeing the big spillage ahead, weaving through the bottom, wiggling the race car, Ryan, and keeps it straight, makes his way on through.
Sometimes the best way to avoid an accident is to do nothing. Matthew Morton does a heck of a job letting the seas part for him. You see him right up in the top, right up there. The wreck happens in front. He kind of woes it down. You see him right in the middle there. Gets a little wiggly right there, but makes his way through. Connor Yurashak, another driver that makes his way through. Just an impressive job weaving your way through, staying calm under pressure.
Stephen Wilson, some contenders involved in that. We await the results of the William Byron Esports Bracket Challenge after round 1 and segment 2 as well. Remember, lots on the line going into this race from Indianapolis. And in a bizarre sequence of events, it's Parker White celebrating from the Brickyard in what is now unofficially his first series win since its Homestead Miami Championship back in 2024. Been a long time since Parker has taken victory lane in this series, but as we see it for now, awaiting further word, Parker White is the winner. So in a wild set of scenarios at the Brickyard, we end up closing this race after what is unofficially 72 laps at the end and 3 overtime attempts. Guys, what do we think about this one? I'm not sure if you can pinpoint an exact word other than bizarre in my head, but surely a wild ending for sure. So
Yeah,
we are
bizarre.
in victory lane. Alan, you've got the winner, Parker White from Indianapolis.
And what a way to get there, Parker. For about 58 and a half laps, no one was surprised that Parker White was going to get the checkered flag. And then we went to this overtime scenario. Do you understand what just happened and how you got the checkered flag?
No, I don't, to be honest. I'm not even joking. That's probably the most confusing thing I've ever been through in my entire life. Those last 2 pace laps, because literally there was absolutely not a single person on the track knew what to do. But shout out to my spotter and our crew chief Jarrett. He just told me to catch the pace car and just go pace speed, because you have to maintain pace speed. So it was the right call. I still don't really know what to think, to be honest, because I knew there was going to be a caution that came out, like just my luck. I literally made it to turn 3 with 2 to go, and we got a caution. Restarted like 20th or something. So, yeah, I don't know. This season hasn't been that great for me, but this is going to help a lot. We got some momentum going at Iowa with some good points in the heat races and stuff, but a really dominating performance up until that GWC there. I would have really hated to lose this race. So I'm happy it turned out like this, but like I said, that was by far the most confusing thing I've ever been through in my life, because when there's so much on the line, you don't know what to do, because if I pass the guys under yellow, I get a black flag and I get sent to the back, and that's a lot of points that I could be risking. So yeah, just shout out to my spotter, crew chief Jarrett, for telling me what to do, to just go by the rules and yeah, just give me the win here. So yeah, I still don't really know what to say.
Yeah, we'll figure all that part out. But again, no one is surprised. You were the best car tonight. So tell me, at the end, when the caution does come out, the decision to pit, was that out of sheer necessity? You knew fuel was going to be an issue. It already was an issue. Bring me through that process, because that was a risky move to come down pit road. Yeah,
I mean, I'm kind of glad I get to explain myself now, because I feel like everybody would just feel like I'm a complete idiot for just pitting like that and the whole field stays out. But yeah, I was up there in clean air. I think my fuel burn was just a little bit more than everybody else. So I physically could not have made it on fuel. I had to pit there. So at least it made the decision a little bit better for me, although mentally it wasn't that great to go through, because I was leading the entire race, and just to be put back there in 20th with 2 laps to go wasn't that great mentally. But just shout out to Jarrett, my crew chief, for just making me keep my head in the game and just not giving up on it until the end.
Parker White, congratulations. Congratulations on the victory tonight.
Thank you.
Well, Parker White gets his first series win since the 2024 championship season. And as we continue to bring in what was a wild ending here at Indianapolis Motor Speedway, I want to remind you that NASCAR 25, NASCAR's official video game, is available now. You can scan the QR code. It's available on the PlayStation Store, Xbox Store, and Steam. For those who are on the computer, NASCAR 25 has been out for a little while, went through a price drop, and Ryan, what a game this is. Fleshed out career mode, all the NASCAR stars, 4 national divisions. It's a ton of fun.
Absolutely. You hit on it. For the national divisions, and that means that there are detailed driver ratings for 200 plus NASCAR drivers. And one of the beautiful things about iRacing making this game is the fact that you have detailed laser scan tracks for 30 plus NASCAR tracks. So whether you're somebody who wants to just hop on the couch, crack open an ice cold Coca-Cola and play your favorite video game, or if you're a diehard sim racer wanting to get the authentic experience, this game has everything for you.
Yeah, sometimes I just like to rip the wall, right? And you can do that in this
Yes.
game, right? You can just go have some fun. You can drive it into Bristol, try to get, 14-second lap. Or you can draft at Daytona in a truck. Those truck races are always fun at Daytona. That's what I like about this game. The different series, the realism on the tracks, and you can just go out there and have some fun. If you don't have quite the skills of the iRacers and the sim racers we have in our series, you can have some fun here on your console at home.
NASCAR 25 available now. You can grab your hands on it on PlayStation, Xbox, and Steam on PC. So we move on from the Brickyard. Segment 2 comes to a close, and Segment 3 awaits us in 2 weeks' time from the Music City Nashville Superspeedway, bringing us the coverage July 28th at 8 p.m. Eastern. Countdown of Green begins at 7:45 p.m. Eastern right here on the iRacing Esports Network. Ryan, this is a tough concrete track. Heat builds up in the surface. Tires wear a ton. It's a unique 1.33-mile oval. It's a lot of fun.
Absolutely. It's a ton of fun. It's a very bottom lane dominant track when you start the run. You see the little seam right there. You want to get your left sides on that seam. But as the temperatures rise, as the rubber gets laid down, you're going to see guys going all the way up to that outside wall. Nashville Superspeedway, both in real life and on the sim, is absolutely one of my favorite tracks, and I cannot wait to be there for it.
We'll see you there July 28th, 8 p.m. Eastern. Countdown to Green at 7:45. But after tonight, 72 laps at the end, overtime, and a wild ending that leaves Parker White victorious for the first time since his championship win in 2024. On behalf of the wonderful crew behind the scenes at iRacing, for James Plank on Countdown to Green, and for my colleagues alongside me, Alan Kamana and Ryan Vargas, I'm Kenneth Bueno saying so long from the racing capital of the world. Parker White, the 4th different winner of 2026, as the field moves on to Nashville Super Speedway. We'll see you then.